Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Papa's Workshop. These are for Adam, Brady, Luke, and Brenna. Before we get started today, let's check in with my assistant. There she is. What you working on down here? Huh? You're contemplating your next project? The good Molly girl. Right. We're continuing on building this corner chair. So we just finished carving the ball and claw feet. We still have to refine those with the scrapers and that. Well, we're going to cut the tops here. So I cut one, and so now what we're going to do is tape these pieces back on. That has the lines, and then cut the other side so that it will look like this one here. Right, I got the shape. So now we need to work with the spoke shaves and smooth that out, get a nice profile, and then we'll have to use spoke shaves again, a rasp. I'll start with the rasp and round these corners off. It's pretty much rounded at the top of this. I don't know if you can see in that black and white photo. They're pretty rounded up here. They stay sharp down there. So we're going to do that next here. So right now I need to tape on those blocks for these, cut these other two, and then I'll be ready to start the shaping. We got, that's the bottom. This is the top. I got them all smoothed out with the spoke shaves and file. I just want to get a smooth profile. And don't necessarily trust your eyes for that. Depending on how the light hits it, it may look, but you can feel, if you just put your fingers across there, you can feel anything that's not quite right. If it's got a little bit of a bump, you'll feel it. And the same with this edge here, it'll telegraph to the edge. So you just want to get that all pretty smooth. So now we're ready to start rounding. And if I looked close at the picture, and it's not just circular. It's actually got this profile right here. It's about a 3/8 of an inch radius at the corners, and then it kind of, it's not totally flat, it's kind of rounded out. So so I've drawn that pattern. So now what we're going to do is take, so that's about, I don't know, about 3/8 in, and we're just going to use your finger as the stop, and you can just trace that line just like that up the curve. At the top, I think it's only about a 1/4 of an inch. That's where we're going to start. So you kind of have to blend it as you get up there to the narrower. All right, so we're going to do that on both sides, and that gives us a target. We're going to take the rasp. The rasp is like a rough file, so it takes off a lot of material. We're gonna round that over with, mostly with the rasp, get a lot of material off really quick, and then we'll smooth it out with spoke shaves and try to get that gentle curve all the way. But with our two lines, we'll have a reference point. Not to go too far. That we're going about the same on both sides. So that's what's next. Okay, I got this first one done. You can see it kind of follows that profile and smooth it out. And I've got about a 3/8 radius here and a 1/4 at the top. I had to kind of abandon those other lines, and I made a line down the center of it and kind of did that, and then made the ramp. That right there looks like a scratch, but it's actually a little flaw in the wood. It's not a crack, it's just got this little pitch. You see, like right here, it's got one of these little lines in there. It just happens to be right down the center of it. So let me do that step to the others, and then we'll figure out the next curve. All right, we got all three of them with that first curve done, and you can see that half of that profile is there. So we need to do the same thing on the sides. This part here has to go up. So I've got a center line drawn and my guide there, and then it has to start at this corner right there. So I got another guideline up, and so then we have to do that to both sides. And so I've got one here that I've done, and you can see we've got our profile there and there. So it looks pretty rounded. We have to, the only thing left is this front or back or whatever you want to call it. But it has to stay fairly sharp. At least it has to be sharp right there. If we round it, then we have to, this is going to be a sharp corner right there. So we need to just do a small, maybe a 1/8 or so on that piece there. And that will actually sit on the, the outside of the chair and in the back of the chair. And so it won't really be seen much. And in the pictures, you can't really tell how much that's rounded. But so let me just finish that. All right, we got the tops of the three back legs done. So that's pretty much ready. And you see I got it assembled, dry assembled. What we need to do next is take some of these blocks that I've got for the knee blocks. We need to, while these are still square, make sure that they fit tight on both surfaces before I cut the shape out. Once I've got those all verified that nothing's perfect, these are probably not exactly square, these blocks probably aren't exactly square, but I need to plane them and get them to fit perfect. And then we'll cut the knee blocks. The templates over the other room. It's just a little shape right there, goes from here to there. And then we'll glue those to the legs, right? The grain's going this way, so this is end grain, and it won't stick to this surface there. So we're going to just glue it to the leg, and we'll just get it so that it's outside the profile. We'll glue those, and then when we take this apart, we'll have both knee blocks in position, and we can carve the rest of the leg. And in looking at this, the other things we got to do before we glue up is we've got to cut these rails down to what they're supposed to be. So this one gets this template on top and this template on the bottom. So we got to cut those, and we got to take a lot off of the. You get that much that's got to come off of that front leg, and then this has to also. We have a lot of work to do right in this area, and we can't really do that as separate pieces. So what I'm going to do is get the knee blocks glued on and get these two pieces shaped, and then I'm going to glue them to this front leg. So I'll have a big V. And then I'll have to figure out a way to hold it and work on it that way when it's all one piece. so we can work on that whole shaping, that whole thing. And when we glue it, we'll have the whole chair dry assembled and just glue these two joints. Then we'll have to shape these guys. Before we do that, we've got to make this, there's an angled slot for the splat, the piece that's curved in the back. We'll have to cut that, and then to shape these. And then shape the legs with the knee blocks, get that down. And the last thing, when it's all glued up, we'll worry about getting these surfaces all straightened up. So we've got quite a bit of work to do. So right now the next step is going to be to verify the blocks fit in there, and then cut out the knee blocks. All right, I cut out the knee blocks, and that's the front of it, and I got one glued in. I'll go around and glue them all, but I'm only gluing it to the leg. Remember, we're not going to put glue on the top, just on the back. And I've got this, I put a little groove at the top. I don't know if I get focus here, so to help eliminate any squeeze out that would go against the rail. So be careful. So I get the rest of these. I think the front ones, I can't really carve those until we get the rails right, because of our curve. You can see here on the top, all of this has to come off, and I kind of want it there when we glue up this part of it so that it's square. So I'm going to shape these guys, the two rails here, then glue this to the front leg, and then glue the front knee blocks on, and then I won't have to worry about the squeeze out on those. So that's where we're at. All right, I got the knee blocks are all glued on. See, so now we can shape those. It's got a little bit of shaping to do on those, so we can kind of finish the three legs. We can finish everything, except I can't really plane this. I have to go across grain, and I'm gonna blow it out on the edge. So I'll just wait till that's glued up as a chair. But we can get this part all smoothed out and get these blocks. Now it should be one continuous curve there. And I just glued up the front legs. There's Molly's watching. So I just glued up the front leg, and see, I cut the curve here underneath, and then the curve on top, and took a spoke shave, cleaned some of it up. But from here on, it all has to be with the front leg, and then this I have to plane when I get the other leg on, and we want this corner right here to match where this starts, the curve. So we'll have to kind of work all of those lines together. So that whole thing is going to have to be worked as a piece. So after this sets for a while, then I'll glue the corner blocks in on that front piece. So time for a break. All right, I got the two back rails started. I did the mortise. It's at a 16-degree angle. See, it goes down. So for the splat, I did that with the router, and I drew the outline here of the profile and cut that out, and just smoothed it out a little bit, because now the next step is we have to scoop out the front where this line, everything up, that goes down at this same kind of a curve that way. So we're going to do that on the router table with a panel bit, raised panel bit, and just scoop that out of there. And then that top piece goes back even farther again. So we'll do that on the router table, I think, too. All right, we got it scooped out here, but the bit wasn't quite long enough. I'm not quite down to the line yet. See it down there? So I'll have to continue that out with my molding planes. And then this gets rounded over kind of like this, so it's kind of like that all the way around. So I'll do that with planes. I can do that with a flat plane. And then this gets rounded all the way around, so I'll have to do that with the molding planes too. So we've got a little bit of handwork to do, but you can kind of see what it's going to look like. All right, I got the knee blocks glued into the front, so I got this front assembly that now I have to shape. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier, I put a pilot hole. We're going to put a pin in there, a dowel, later, but I didn't want to make the hole full size. I was afraid it might tear out as I was shaping it, and it's going to be hard to pinpoint where that has to go when it's not square. So I mean, it was easy to drill it before I glued up, so I did. And we got the back rails pretty well done. Just a final sanding on those, and they'll be ready. So we got to work on knee blocks and this front assembly before we can glue up. All right, we got the 3 legs. We got, well, that's not a very good one, is it? The grain kind of matches on that one. That matches pretty good there. This is one of the corner legs. This is the back leg. And I knew I had pieces that didn't quite, the grain doesn't quite match on that. But you can see it's all roughly smoothed out with the rasp. And I got it even on that side. So we got all 3 done. This one's pretty good as far as the grain matching goes. Hard to get perfect. So what I'm going to do is dry fit the rails into the mortises and then get this down. I can't really get this edge here until I know what this surface is, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. It may be a little off when I glue, but I can always tweak it there. Now the front leg, I went ahead and here's our circle that we have to achieve. So I just took a handsaw and cut this chunk out. And it didn't go all the way to the bottom because what happens is this curve has to come in and it actually meets somewhere up in here. And so then there's a raised hill. If we can look at our picture, you can see there's a little rise right there. So we got to bring all of that down, including the knee blocks. So we have a lot of material here to remove. So I'm going to start by just making this section here, that one circle, that one curve right there. And then we'll start bringing this down and we'll see where the 2 meet. Going to be a lot of work. Okay, here shows the progress. I've got this part knocked down. It's not quite there, but I'm working from the side here and trying to make a nice curve and see where we're going to end up meeting, and then we'll have to curve it back over. So that's the progress. All right, here's what I got so far on that. If we can see how that is there. It looks like an elephant right there with the 2 eyes. Anyway, I put a pencil mark where the joint is to kind of make sure it was straight. And looking at the picture, it's flatter. It's flatter. It's not quite as tall as I've made this. Some of the other reproductions kind of look like this. They're a little higher, but the chair I'm trying to replicate, it isn't really that high. So I am going to lower that tomorrow. I'm going to lower that somewhat, make that curve more like that. I think that's better. And that means we got to take more of this off to get it down in there. Is what happened with that being like that is I had trouble. See, I had to dig in to get it to match right along there. So if I bring that in for the whole thing would come in, and I think it needs to be from this point to this point needs to be a curve, and not go back in. So so more work to do. All right, here we got it down lower. I think that looks about right now. You see close up there, I did that all with the rasp. This is the rasp, so it's pretty rough. So now we got to go over it with scrapers and get that nice and smooth, and a little bit of chisel work, carving tools, get that edge crisp in there. So here's my holding fixture. I had that made for another chair, and here's a top view of kind of what it looks like. I think that looks better. So I think we'll stop there and just smooth it out. Alrighty, I'm getting ready to put in the pegs. The pegs start out as just square stock, but it's a round hole. So you whittle this down till it's a dowel, and you want that last, say, 1/8 of an inch or so to go in and make it square. And I've taken a chisel and just nicked those corners. That's to help me get it to stay straight when it goes in there. We want them to be kind of lined up. So, and then we'll do the final shaping or sanding on that curve.